Hello, welcome to Serenity Secrets podcast. And for this segment, we are featuring our author highlight segment. And our special guest is Miss Pat Weatherspoon-Hall, who is the author of Love Me Back to Life. How are you doing today, Miss Pat?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing good. Could you tell our audience more about who you are and where you are located?
Well, I am Pat Weatherspoon Hall, also known as the Christian Life Coach. I am a mental health advocate, a Christian life coach, and I have a family. I have two sons and a husband, and also grandchildren. And I'm the founder of Genesis Rejuvenation Center. We are just getting ready to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. And we are located in Houston, Texas.
Wow, 10 years that is a milestone for being a business owner and being founder of something
Mhm.
as big as that. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel great. Something that the Lord birthed in me that was founded off of a rocky start. And that is growing. It waned for a little bit. I let it go for a little bit, picked it back up because the Lord was telling me I needed to pick it back up. There were people, women out there who needed the services and what we provide. So I picked it back up, and 10 years later, and I actually founded Genesis Rejuvenation Center in a time when I had just left a job, didn't know what else that I was going to do. I'm an avid volunteer, so I delved back in volunteerism. And at that point, I was so busy. I was used to being busy, either being in school, taking care of the children, family, things like that. And one day, the Lord said, you will be helping women. And so that's actually when He gave me the rest from the school and the work and other things, because I needed that quality time, that quiet time to be with Him, to listen and bring forth what He was telling me to do.
And when you say to help women, what services do you offer at Genesis Rejuvenation Center?
Well, I help women heal from what has brought them pain, whether it's divorce, toxic relationship, childhood trauma, but also helping them to find themselves. And I wasn't eligible to do that early on, but after I went through the work and the Lord was working with me, I realized that, it's not just me who are going through these challenges. There are other women out there like me who are facing similar challenges and do not know what or how or the steps to take to start getting back to themselves, to start that healing process.
And for you, being a single mom and having to go through that process yourself, and you're a boy mom, boys are
I
always
am.
energetic.
Yes, they are
What
very energetic.
how did it look like to actually get into the whole grinding of it all and putting in the work to get the business active?
Well, I'll share a short story here. So, um, after my divorce, or when that gavel hit from the judge, realizing that, okay, I am no longer someone's wife, having to figure out, next steps. Where am I going to live? What about the children? Because I went from mom's house to his house to no house. So I had to learn how to um, figure that out. And I had no time to spare. So it was really, one thing after another. And so I rented a small apartment and joined this single parents group at church. And I was still a quiet person. People were still trying, figuring out that I was now divorced. I wasn't married anymore. And so when I joined that single parents ministry, I started learning from other people, learning some other things. but I was still going through my journey. It was still fresh. And one night, we would get in a circle and we would pray at the end of our single parents meeting. And the children would be off in another area. And I remember being in the circle, and the next thing I know, I was somebody was picking me up off the floor. And so, knowing that I had been seen, one of the women in that group asked me, she said, "You haven't been eating, have you?" And I was mortified. It was like, okay, somebody's seeing my open wound. And all I wanted to do was go and get my children and go home. But the others in the group, someone took my car keys, someone went to get the children, and someone drove my car and drove us in another car home. After they dropped us off, we got in the house. I put the boys to bed and cried my eyes out the rest of the night. That next morning, the Lord had been working with me, and I knew that if I wasn't okay, they weren't going to be okay. So right then, I knew that I had to start doing the work to get myself together so that I can be more available to them and what else the Lord was trying to reveal to me.
Oh, wow. That is a very touching story. And after you went through all of this, you were also able to find love in this singles group at church. Can you tell us about that story?
Well, I didn't find it through the singles group. That the singles group was enabled me and edified me on that journey of realizing that I needed to continue the healing. And so I was divorced several years before I met my husband. So um, we started dating. This was years later, and at one point he asked me to marry him, and I said yes. And then I went back and said, no, 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 no. I have children. You need to have your own. And I kept trying to run him away. And back and forth. And finally, the Lord said, listen, I'm putting him in front of you. You better stop, running him away. And so I finally listened at that point. And here I am today. We are 23 years married. So he caught me and I kept trying to run away, but here we are.
And how was that for you? Because I know for me, growing up in a blended family, my
Mhm.
grandparents married when I was 10. My parents got together when I was 13. So I saw my mom and my grandma both being single moms. And as a kid,
Mhm.
I know what it felt like from the kid's perspective to it was like,
Right,
okay, there's someone new, we have to adjust.
right,
But
right.
for the moms who are out there, like, you know what? It's time for me to get back out there. I
Hmm.
need someone for me. I want my person. Where is my Boaz? How hard was it for you to transition into that mindset? And what advice can you give the single moms or single dads?
Right. Well, you heard me say I kept running away from him, right? Because I wasn't sure if this was right. As a boy mom or a mother altogether, you don't know, you have those fears of, is this the right person? I'm bringing someone around my children. My husband doesn't have children of his own. So he engaged in my two sons, which you better not say that they're not his sons. They are his sons. Um, and then looking at the children's perspective of that, there were some tough times. You have to learn how to get along, live with each other, especially when my boys had only had me and it was me and them. So I would say just, make sure that you have open communication. We allow our sons to call meetings. I remember growing up when that saying children should be heard and not seen. I mean, children should be seen and not heard. And that never really set well with me, even as a child. And so we gave our sons the opportunity to be open. If they were feeling a certain way, they would let us know. They would catch our attention. And as parents, sometimes we're always busy, hustling and bustling, and
Yes.
they have to, and your children have to just, okay, tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey, I need to talk to you." So we had those moments, and it's not always easy. You just have to make sure that you keep the line of communication open. And if you need to bring in someone like a counselor or therapist or something like that, um, don't let the stigma prevent you from doing that. Don't let other people, come in and tell you what to do and what not to do. If that's what you feel that's most important, that will bring your family together, that will help with the miscommunication and all the other things that come with that, you do that. And I had to learn that as well, especially being a shy person and quiet.
So let's switch gears and talk about the author side of Miss Pat. Could you give our audience a little information about, and I want everybody to know that I love the concept of your book, but could you just give the audience some background knowledge of how this book came to life? Because I love it. I love the whole story behind it.
Well, I'm going to hold up the cover here, and this was my baby, and my husband was actually coming up on a milestone birthday, and I had been trying to figure out what to get him for his birthday that year, and the Lord revealed to me letters. And I just started thinking of all the things up to that point, just things that he had done, how our family, was coming together and all of those things. And so every so often something would pop in my head and I'd go write. And then something else would pop in my head and I'd write something else. And I kept writing until I had 15 letters. Some of them are short, some of them are long. And on the morning of his birthday, he was studying behind the door in the bedroom. And I knocked on the door and I gave him the handwritten letters in a tablet because I had been writing them. And I told him that he could not come out until he had read all the letters. And and so, and I was back here in the office, like nervous. And finally, he opened the door, and I went to him, and he had the biggest smile I think I had seen in a long time. And
Wow.
and it actually was him. He suggested that uh, he said, these are good. They need to be in a book. And I was like, "Are you sure?" Some of these letters are, a little intimate. And he said, "Yes, you should put this in a book." And so I did. I was a little hesitant, even when the book was ready to go. I hired a book coach, and she had to fight with me as well. Because even to the last minute, I was like, I don't know. I was a little hesitant still, but we got it out there. And not only is it the book encompasses the 15 letters, but it also has space for couples to write their letters to each other. There are some prayers that I put in there as well, and a space for couples to write their own prayers to themselves. There's a marriage model boot camp. So there's some other things in that book besides the letters. And one of the things that I suggest is for couples that they buy two books so that each of them can have their own and then, separate for a time and come back together um, during that time. So,
And with the separation of them reading the book and doing these activities, does it bring a sense of like growth or like enhance the communication where they learn more about each other intimately and spiritually?
yes, yes, because we encourage them to be honest, and soon we're going to be hosting a married couples retreat. And so that's going to be coming probably next year. And we're working on that. But just modeling some of those things on how they can be more intimate with each other. And that's, intimacy encompasses a lot of things. How they can talk to each other and also listen. Sometimes you're just ready to say your part, as a and especially if you're married or even in a relationship, you're listening to your partner only so that you can have a rebuttal, and that's that's not always um, the best thing to do. You're supposed to be listening so that you can kind of comprehend what they're saying, and also look into yourself to see, okay, I hear you, and maybe this side is what I can do to help with that, but not just to readily have a rebuttal on what your partner's saying to you. You're supposed to be active listening, and sometimes we don't do that. We're so ready to get our part in, right?
I am very guilty of that.
I have to, but and that's why I put those sections in the book, because we are all different. First of all, male and female, and then we are reared differently. We're not reared in the same home, so our values may be different. So that's when you're coming in, even if you haven't been divorced, but just marriage period, or even just a relationship, you're bringing in what you know and what you've grown up with, and the other person is doing the same. So how do you mix those together and get something that is comprehensible and good for both of you and your family?
Yes, ma'am. And for those who are wondering or may want to order their own copies, where can they purchase their copy of Love Me Back to Life, Letters to My Husband?
It is on Amazon. So, and I think it was this our fourth year. I think it's our fourth year, 4 years ago. And still, I'm in awe that I actually put those letters out there. So, but I have had feedback that it has helped couples along the way. So, and I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. And you are also not only active in the ministry, but you are married in the ministry. How does that play a role in like when you have these couples reach out to you after reading your book?
Well, I asked my husband to join depending on what is needed. If the husband is involved as well, or the boyfriend, premarital coaching and counseling. My husband is a pastor, minister, and so we come together and help in whatever they need, whatever those couples are asking for, what they're needing, to kind of help them, blend together and also see where their future is going to be, as they're learning each other and learning how to be a couple.
Yes, ma'am. And after hearing your story and your amazing testimony of resilience as a mom and as a woman and as a wife, the title of our podcast is Serenity Secrets. Serenity means peace. Can Miss Pat give us her secret to serenity? How do you keep the peace and how do you keep like yourself grounded in all of this that has gone on throughout life?
Well, number one is prayer. I got to have some prayer. And to help me stay grounded is actually, listening to the Lord, waiting